Hey, beautiful people of the internet, how are you guys doing today? Hopefully great. So in the game, we've got around 30 to 40, if not almost 50 different frames, and naturally we're going to forget about them. Their abilities are either going to be mediocre, or we simply just don't see a purpose to use them given the current state of the game. So as a result, here are the 5 frames that you probably forgot about. Before I continue with the video any further, don't forget to spot and hit the subscribe button for more Warframe videos just like this one. Without further ado, let's get this video on the road, shall we? So starting off strong, we have Limbo, aka the mathematician himself, the mathematician himself. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, even to this day, Limbo is probably still hated a lot, even though he's actually in a lot better state than he was previously. If you guys didn't know, Limbo could also be reviewed as the Troll King, because essentially what would happen is he would go and put his allies into the rift and they could not get out of it. And if you guys didn't know, while you guys are in the rift, it does count as a different plane, therefore you will not be able to pick up any form of resource. That also includes energy resources. Now, if you guys are then put into the plane, you can simply just roll and you can continue life on the regular plane. Moving on to our number 4 spot is here we have Zephyr. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, Zephyr isn't exactly the most favorite Warframe in the entire Warframe community. She's very squishy, doesn't really have any nuke abilities, and overall not really a fan favorite to use. However, she does have her own uses, such as I've seen some pretty crazy builds for Zephyr, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I have been pretty shocked. But overall, when it comes to Zephyr, the only reason why I want to use her is just so that I can go from point A to point B in the plains of Eidolon. Therefore I can go and go to the very tippy top of the atmosphere. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it's actually really fun going from like ground zero all the way up to the very top of the atmosphere in any of the open worlds, whether it's plains of Eidolon or Valus or even the Cambient Drift. Zephyr is very good, especially if you want to go from point A to point B, just because of her passive and also her number 1 ability, allowing you to dash, and of course her passive allows you to jump with 0 gravity, allowing you to reach much greater heights. Moving on to our number 3 spot is Vauban. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone probably knows Vauban. A lot of people probably don't have him, especially his prime, just because the prime, the prime resource requirement is actually relatively crazy. I think you need around 7,000 to 8,000 oxium. It's a lot. Back then it used to be like 14,000, and it was absolutely insane. Like each component actually required you to go and collect 2,000, 3,000 oxium. Eventually it went and added up, along with 19 extract. It was such a pain. Now, obviously, given today's standards, 19 extract isn't too crazy, because now you can actually go to Nora and just go and buy them. Back then, you actually have to go and wait for a certain event that dropped that particular resource. You go and do it, or an alert, and it'll only give you 1. Now you can go get them from, say, I think a Plains of Eidolon bounty, one of the bounties in one of the open world. And overall, let me tell you, Vauban is a very powerful Warframe. In fact, you could say that he is overrated, and I really see Vauban being played. I do see him here and there in the Steel Path. And the reason for this is because not only does he provide you with some of the best crowd control in the game, because I remember when the Law of Retribution was out, if you guys didn't know what the Law of Retribution is, it's essentially an X8-man player raid that used to be in Warframe, but unfortunately it was taken out for very stupid reasons. I don't want to talk about them because a lot of people probably argue about it, but it's whatever. Vauban is one of the best crowd control frames out there, if not the best, side by side with Nova. However, he does offer you a little bit of fun, such as he has these little trampolines, can allow you to troll your teammates. He can also, if you have enough power strength, you can basically be able to go and strip enemy armor. Moving on to our number 2 spot is we do have Atlas. Now, Atlas, let me tell you guys, he is actually a relatively overrated character. He's not my favorite. I don't particularly like him because the way his armor works isn't exactly the best. I feel like it could be better, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you guys do want a earth-based Warframe, or what I like to refer to him as is the Earthbender of Warframe, just because he can summon these 2 little minions and you can go and bash them, attack them, also take the aggro off of you, and also he can go and deal a ton of damage if you guys do use his One Punch Man abilities correctly. Now, the way his One Punch Man works is essentially, essentially you obviously want to go and add your power strength, your efficiency, so that you can continuously spam it, and not worry about, you know, any form of restriction on your energy economy. And then essentially you just want to go and add a melee weapon. I'd say like whatever Rhino's signature prime weapon was. I believe it was the Anchronos Prime. And essentially you just want to go and add a Riven to that. Rivens do stack to that particular exalted mod. It's one of those rare exalted based abilities that actually do take into consideration your Riven. Overall, he's a great frame, but I personally don't like him because A, he's got a very ugly deluxe skin. B, there's no way of making him very good. I actually think he's one of those frames out there that desperately needs a rework when it comes to his appearance or his deluxe skin or something like that. And also I do feel like he needs to have a bit of a complete rework on like how his abilities are. Like, you know, decide whether he's a crowd control frame or is he a, you know, aggressor or a nuker. And finally, moving on to our number 1 spot of one of the most forgotten frames is Nyx, aka the control freak of Warframe. Now, Nyx is actually a very underrated crowd control frame. So essentially she's got this ability where you would essentially have it where it has Chaos Sphere. Now this is an augment. Now what Chaos Sphere does, listen, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but all I remember is the last time that we used Chaos Sphere was in the trials, aka the Law of Retribution, and she did receive a rework, but I haven't really heard anything or noticed anything too substantial. But overall what she does is she'll basically cause the room to turn on against one another. In other words, she'll cause chaos in the entire room. And what happens is, instead of the enemy shooting at you and your allies, they'll start shooting at one another. In other words, taking away all the attention away from yourself, including your allies. She also has this absorption ability where essentially any form of damage that she, you know, receives during a certain state then will then be reflected to an area. Now this ability is actually relatively useful. It's really good, especially if you start absorbing a enormous amount of damage. Therefore you can, like, I don't want to say you could nuke the enemies, but I'm not going to say that you can't, because you can, you know, she just absorbs all these abilities, all these damages, and just like spreads it to all the nearby enemies within her particular range. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's all for today's video. If you guys have liked the video or it's helped you out in any way or form, remember to spot and click the subscribe button for more Warframe videos just like this one. I'm gonna make like a banana and split.